It starts with one thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind, I designed this rhyme to explain in due time. All I know, the time is a valuable thing. Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end of the day. The clock takes life away, it's so unreal. Didn't look out below, watch the time go right out the window. Trying to hold on, you didn't even know that I wasted it all just to watch you go. I kept everything inside, and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to me will eventually be a memory of a time I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. One thing, I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind, I designed this rhyme to remind myself how I tried so hard. Despite the way you were mocking me, acting like I was part of your property. Remembering all the times you fought with me, I'm surprised it got so far. Things aren't the way they were before. You wouldn't even recognize me anymore. Not that you knew me back then, but it all comes back to me in the end. I kept everything inside, and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to me will eventually be a memory of a time I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I put my trust in you, pushed as far as I can go. For all this, there's only one thing you should know. I put my trust in you, pushed as far as I can go. For all this, there's only one thing you should know. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another Winchester Wednesdays. I'm your host, Winchester572, and I am tired. And yes, it is because I am tired and I overslept that we are late today. So yes, but even though I am late, does not mean that I can slack off on everything else. So yeah, anyways, stuff that's happened. Me and Marzi were down at Forrest Thunder's house in Phoenix this last weekend. So that was fun. Got to meet, like, some of his family and stuff, but mostly it was for his birthday party, so. But yeah, so that was fun. Got to have some fun times and everything else. We watched ponies and stuff like that. Got to go to our army surplus store, so that's always fun. But yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce. Oh god, I'm going to introduce us to the call.
It's what I do.
Hello, call.
Hello.
It's how I keep track of things. Like how I lose Winchester's head on a daily basis.
I've got an idea. I can use the sticky notes feature, because I never used that.
Exactly. That's a nice way to keep track of.
I
Good
only
thing I
actually
keep
wants
burning
to
mine.
censor a background.
It's actually my
No
favorite
particular
feature.
So
Sticky notes are fun.
Even though they take a little bit more processor speed than just a notepad.
Yeah, but they're pretty.
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna need a little bit of help staying on track tonight because I'm having a hard time keeping on track myself. Anyways, starting with introductions, we have my two co-hosts, Orange Shirt Guy and Crazy Matt's Captain.
You first.
I think Winchester needs more sweet tea so that he can pay attention to things.
Yeah, I've got a Coke. And big thanks to Orange Shirt Guy for calling me and waking me up.
I was considering it at the time, but I was in the middle of poking the pony game so that I would have no wheels during the middle of the show because I thought you were showing up.
Oh, you idiot. Anyways, and yeah, I'm so out of it. I'm completely missed the idiot joke thing that I could make right here. But anyways, here we have our fanfic editor, Double R Forest.
Well, you know what they say. If you lose the wheels, you don't get the meals.
And our new Larsis for tonight, we have Cyril the Wolf.
Hello. I'm not Larsis, but I will try my best.
Even though he isn't our standard not Larsis, our standard not Larsis could not be here tonight.
So does that mean I'm the tertiary Larsis?
Well, no, you'd be Lord for Datsmore.
Yes, I did ask him, and he was just like, "No, I have to be responsible tonight." I'm just like, "Oh,
Responsible?
yeah."
Wait, what's
Who was
that?
he and what did he do to Datsmore?
Anyways, next on to Cold Dust.
Mistakes were made.
Yes.
Yeah, mistakes were made. Although I realized not as many as I thought, because I only have like 3 characters I need to voice. But still, oh jeez. Winchester, I apologize for nothing.
And next on to Marzi.
Hi, I'm here. I forgot it was Wednesday too.
Yeah.
Labor Day just sticks it right in there.
Oh my.
Yeah, it sticks it in the rye.
We're just getting jet lagged from being in Phoenix.
I had to drive back 7 hours.
Oof, those are fun drives.
So just really quick, I heard that your car overheated a little. How
It didn't overheat. It was just running hot, so I had to put more water in it.
Oh, that's normal. Well, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So yay, the radiator hose held. Yay. Anyways, God, I'm so tired. Somebody help me. Oh yeah, the song at the beginning was one that Prince Whatever helped cover. So yeah.
Cool.
Oh. Yeah. So anyways, unless people have other stuff to say, we can get into the reading.
Winchester.
Yes.
I learned some interesting facts about milk cars, which I think will not interest anyone, but I could totally say them.
Okay, so Cyril the Wolf, please
Hi.
start us with the reading. Do you know how any of this works?
No.
Okay, so since you're the narrator, you do basically everything.
Okay.
So you read, basically you say the title of the fic, which is It Takes a Village, and then you say who it's by, and then you go down through the character list, read who's reading what.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Okay. It's fantastic.
You don't have to read how many lines the characters have, okay?
No, I understand. All right, so
And then
this
chapter
has
9
the cast list bigger than freaking the 10 Commandments 3-hour-long movie. I'll get this right on going here. And be a little less saucy about it, because of course Larsis never gets saucy. He speaks in a very mellow baritone all the time. So, Tonight's fic on Winchester Wednesdays is It Takes a Village by Determined Fid, with narration by Cyril the Wolf. The part of Spike, Trixie, Zakora, and Mrs. Cake played by Double R Forrest. Razorfang, Applebloom, and Photographer played by Orange Shirt Guy. Applejack, Big Macintosh, Spitfire, and Princess Luna, played by Winchester. Twilight Sparkle, Scootaloo, Rarity, and that's it, thank God. Played by Crazy Matt Captain. This is more difficult than I gave it credit for, but continuing on. And for some reason, I'm also Rainbow Dash now. But that's fine, I can do that. At any rate, continuing on, I'm sorry about all these distractions. And Pinkie Pie and Mayor, and there's probably like a nice little and Fluttershy, with a nice little featuring logo, is Marzipans. And did I say Coal Dust yet? No, I didn't. Coal Dust is actually in here for some reason. We still can't figure out why, but he's playing Soren, Sweetie Belle, and Shara Lee.
I'm confused. I thought I was playing Rainbow Dash.
I have no power of editing the document, so whoever is actually playing whoever is playing Rainbow Dash, if it's me, by the time we get there, warn me before we get there. Does that sound good? Sounds good. Okay. So, It Takes a Village by Determined Fid. Chapter 9.
I did it!
Spike tore over to the edges of the Everfree Forest in the falling night. His wings flapped joyously every few moments, and he soared upwards briefly before bounding to the ground once more, his momentum never halting.
I did it! I did it! Woohoo!
He launched himself skywards and beaten his wings twice, then swooped them back against his body to speed horizontally for a few moments. His feet hit the ground running, and he threw back his head in delighted laughter.
Hey, Razorfang! Razorfang, were you watching? Did you see that? Did you see me?
A snarl rumbled through the forest, echoing strangely. The trees rustled, their canopies trembling, and birds flew out, calling mournfully as great heavy footsteps approached. Not even such an intimidating entrance could dampen Spike's spirits. He shifted excitedly from 4 foot to 4 foot, his wings half unfurled and quivering. The smell of smoke and fire grew closer, and the green dragon's huge muzzle finally protruded from the trees, breaking off branches as it emerged. Spike didn't wait for Razorfang to speak.
I did it! I flew! I saved some pony!
I saw.
Spike threw his chest out, dizzy with pride.
What'd you think?
Razorfang gave him a look filled with detestation.
I was trying to sleep, hatchling.
Spike.
Spike rolled his eyes. Razorfang growled thunderously. The echoes took some time to dissipate. Spike's blood froze momentarily, but his excitement was too enormous to be squashed for long, and he began to bounce on the balls of his feet.
Seriously, what'd you think? Wasn't it cool? I saved Fluttershy, and Rainbow Dash said...
You risked your life to save some pathetic mammal.
Spike blinked, and then his eyes narrowed.
Yeah, I did. What do you care?
Huge fangs gritted.
I find it intolerable that a dragon should risk his life for one of those.
Razorfang broke off, lip twisting in disgust. Spike jutted his chin forward stubbornly.
You want to kill me. You keep saying you're going to kill me. So what do you care what I do with my life?
Razorfang reared up angrily, smoke billowing and flames flickering behind gritted teeth. Spike was given a sharp and chilling reminder of how mammoth the grown dragon truly was.
And you will deserve it, hatchling. You deserve death and more for that a miserable stunt.
Spike tucked his chin back in, reeling back against the blast of hot air, one eye squinting closed. Then his brow furrowed and he pulled himself up.
Now wait a minute. That was my pony, and she was falling, and I saved her. I protected what was mine. I rescued my friend, and I flew. I finally flew. What part of this makes me deserve being barbecued?
Razor Fang panted through his nose, orange eyes slits of anger.
You could never understand.
Spike set his jaw.
Explain it then.
The great dragon landed back down on his forepaws, and the booms as they touched the forest floor were not heard not with the ear, but rather rattled the teeth and bones.
No.
Spike lifted his head challengingly.
Are you scared?
The green wings unfurled, and Spike was treated to yet another display of Razor Fang's vastness. He shied away as the older dragon roared at him. The cavernous mouth glowed before him, the oily sheen of gas in the air, and Spike rubbed the sweat from his brow when the dragon had finished.
You done now?
His sardonic tone not quite hiding the trembling of his voice. Razor Fang was breathing heavily, and his chest rose and fell in anger.
I will enjoy killing you, scared indeed.
Ah, so you are scared.
Razor Fang seemed to expand even further with outrage and fury, and Spike swallowed hard before saying in as firm a voice as he could muster.
You don't get to intimidate me just because you're bigger.
Razor Fang leaned forward, neck snaking closer to Spike.
But I do, don't I?
Spike had to force his limbs to stay still. Every muscle wanted to bolt for the safety of Ponyville.
Look, what's wrong with admitting you're scared? I can freely admit that you scared the living daylights out of me. Why can't you admit that you're scared of explaining yourself?
Razor Fang paused, before sitting himself back onto his haunches. His head towered over all but the very tallest of trees, and he utterly dwarfed the younger dragon.
I am not scared of explaining myself.
Spike also sat back onto his haunches.
Then explain! Why do I deserve to die for saving Fluttershy?
Razor Fang ignored that and regarded Spike for a long moment.
You need to work on your landings.
Spike huffed smoke through his nostrils in frustration.
Do you always ignore questions you don't like?
That was blithely ignored as well.
You dragged your hind feet, tripped, and ended up snout first in that little lake.
Razor Fang smirked. He smirked.
You have to stretch out your forelegs to land neatly.
Spike scowled.
It was my first landing. I think I did okay.
You would have done better without those useless creatures clinging to your back.
We're not going to agree on that.
Evidently not.
What did you think?
Spike half stood again, and his wings unfurled slightly.
Did you see me dive? And I caught her. I didn't hurt her at all.
Razor Fang sighed heavily, anger still lighting his orange eyes.
It was acceptable.
Oh, don't hurt yourself or anything. I thought it was awesome, and Rainbow Dash said so too.
And who is this Rainbow Dash?
Spike's chest puffed out once more, and he tossed his head proudly.
Only the fastest flyer in Equestria, that's all. She's one of the Wonderbolts, and the only Pegasus ever to do a sonic rainbow.
Ah, one of your precious ponies.
Yeah, she's mine. Claws off.
With such praise from such a source, why do you require my opinion so badly?
You see any other dragons around here? Of course I wanted to tell you. Anyway, I thought you'd be interested. You're the one who told me about the chess thing.
Razor Fang seemed to rock backwards for a moment, eyes stricken, before he fixed Spike with a long, cool stare.
It would have been dishonorable to kill a...
Oh, leave off. I know you've been watching me, and you just admitted it.
The great green dragon lowered his vast, sinuous body down to the ground and crossed his forelegs with arrogant nonchalance.
You afford me some amusement. I have not been so diverted for nearly a century.
Spike wrinkled his snout.
I don't dance on request, you know.
Pity.
Spike sighed. He should have known better than to expect more from a dragon who continually stated his intention to kill him. He sat back onto his haunches and glared at Razorfang.
You're a bit of a jerk, you know that?
Razorfang chuckled darkly.
I was so excited about finally flying. I was obviously an idiot to expect you to care about that. I bet you've never cared about anything. It's all distant and dragony and killing with you, isn't it?
Razorfang's eyes widened before they slitted in anger.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
Then for Celestia's sake, explain!
Fine.
Razorfang stood, abruptly a mess, and threatening once more.
You protect those foolish creatures. You're proud of it. You have even claimed them as territory. Have you any idea what they have done?
Yes. They used to hunt us.
We were numerous. We were powerful. And we hunted them, oh yes. We hunted the wretched mammals in return. And why not? They called us rogues. And... words. And monsters enforced us from our territories. They drove us away. They sent their tricks and their avalanches and their ambushes, smashing our heads with boulders, piercing us with their harpoons and killing us as we took our centuries-long sleep. And you, here you stand swearing by their gods, saving them and calling them yours.
They are mine.
They will use you and discard you.
They won't.
And if they cannot drive you out, they will kill you, as they have always done.
Spike swallowed.
They're not all the same.
To his ears, it sounded weak, even if it was the truth.
They're my family. They'd never hurt me.
The horrible death threat from this morning flickered to mind. He dismissed it roughly. Razorfang bared his teeth.
Your family were dragons. Imagine if they could see you now, little mammal in dragon skin.
Well, they can't, can they? Because they're dead.
And who killed them, little hatchling? Who killed them?
Spike held his gaze for a moment, and then his eyes dropped to his feet.
I thought so.
It was a long time ago.
A long time to a pony is no time at all to a dragon.
Spike squared himself.
It doesn't matter. They are my family now. They're raising me and helping me, and they're the ones that love me. What else makes a family?
Razorfang glared at him. Razorfang glared at him, breathing heavily. Spike regarded the furious older dragon, his mind racing, and abruptly, realization struck.
Oh. Oh, this is personal, isn't it?
Huge green claws raked at the ground.
You will leave.
Who died?
Razorfang's slitted pupils expanded in shock.
What?
Did I miss something? Nope.
What?
Some pony. Some dragon died. Some dragon close to you.
Spike tipped his head and studied Razorfang, his heaving chest, his wild eyes.
Ponies were behind it, weren't they?
There was a long, loaded silence, full of hatred.
My mate, my two children.
Spike bowed his head.
I'm sorry.
As you say, it was a long time ago.
No time at all. To a father.
Razorfang's eyes slid shut with a dreadful finality at that word. His mighty body seemed to stiffen with pain, and a low moan escaped him. Spike squeezed his eyes closed as well, unable to bear the sound of the dragon's mourning. It was purest agony made audible.
They were so strong, my sons. I was so proud of them. They grew to be such fine dragons. My boys. My two boys.
He swayed slightly, his mammoth head hanging low.
It has been so long, so very, very long.
Spike understood something then. Razorfang was lonely. He was old, alone, sorrowing and angry, and utterly weary of being old, alone, sorrowing and angry. He peered up at the fierce, hooked face with a great pity welling in his heart.
You stayed with their mother then?
She had to chase me off. I returned as many times as I could to watch our boys grow and to pay court to her again and again. Oh, but she was lovely. 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 Her eyes sparkled red as rubies. She knew all the old songs and chants by heart, and she so loved to fly.
He opened his great orange eyes, and they were soft and longing.
She so loved to fly.
How did it happen?
She would not leave her cave. The mammals asked and threatened and pleaded, but she would not leave the place. That was hers. It had been hers for centuries, had been her clan's for time out of mind. They bided their time, and when it came, they took their chance. They waited until she began the long sleep, and they collapsed the cave. A boulder crushed her skull.
Spike's breath stopped entirely. Razorfang continued haltingly, his deep, sonorous voice, the very sound of grief.
My sons flew back to their hatching place when they heard of it and killed all responsible. Then the mammals rose up, destroyed them as well.
He lifted his chin, his snake-like throat convulsing as he swallowed laboriously.
They were so young. They were barely grown.
What about you?
The booming, rasping voice dwindled to a rough whisper.
I awoke 60 years later.
Spike took a hesitant step toward the giant creature. Razorfang's eyes flicked toward him warily, and Spike sat down once more.
Razorfang.
There is nothing you can say. I told you before. You cannot possibly understand. You are barely hatched.
But I can sympathize.
Spike remembered Zikora's words. He bowed his head again, his shoulders slumping.
I'm so sorry, Razorfang. I'm so sorry.
Razorfang grunted, shifting his shoulders. He looked somewhat perturbed by Spike's apology.
Well, enough. It is done and gone, and they are lost to me forever. But you have discovered something, I take it.
Spike gave a half shrug. He felt uncomfortable and slightly exposed.
I don't know how to feel about it. I never knew them.
What happened?
My mother died while I was still in the egg. My father had left. Explorer killed her and took my egg for a trophy. There were two others. He left them there alone.
Razorfang snarled in an undertone.
Your clutch mates stolen from you, and yet you still protect them.
They're not all like that. Some are, sure, but not all. Are all dragons alike?
Razorfang frowned.
Of course not.
There you go, then. Neither are ponies.
Surely you must wish revenge.
That explorer's been dead for 87 years. Would punishing every pony else bring my mother back? My clutchmates?
They were your family.
They were. But my family's made of ponies now. I'm not going to turn on them for the mistakes of the past. Not ever.
I think you are foolish, little one. But I cannot fault your loyalty.
Spike stood, stretching, and looked up at the night sky. Stars were beginning to wink within its depths.
Like I said, they've raised me and helped me and loved me. I know they'll never hurt me. They have faith in me. Why shouldn't I have faith in them?
Green eyes met orange, and this time, Spike didn't drop his gaze. He steadily returned Razorfang's stare. Finally, the older dragon shook his head slightly before lowering it to his forepaws.
We will never agree.
Probably not.
Spike turned to go. Razorfang's voice made him pause.
Spike, it was a fine first flight.
Thanks for the help. Good night.
Good night.
Spike turned and began to loop back to the village. Lope back to the village? Redo. Spike turned and began to lope back to the village, wings spreading for the downbeat. As he climbed into the air, orange eyes watched him go with sorrow lingering in their depths. The next morning dawned cool and crisp, and Spike was treated to another bundle of hate mail. He incinerated each horrible, abusive letter after reading it, and that made him feel somewhat better. As before, there were several declarations of support as well. He smoothed them out carefully, wondering if it would be the polite thing to do. Answer them. One in particular made him pause. It was unsigned, but the envelope was a familiar, dusky blue.
Don't let any pony tell you who you are or aren't. But don't pretend to be some pony you're not either. You're lucky to have a pony like Twilight Sparkle who isn't too proud to tell you what you mean to her. The day I lost my dragon was the day I lost my only friend.
He stared at it reflexively for a moment. Before getting to his feet and trundling over to the library, he knocked very, very cautiously, wary of his claws on the wooden door. Even so, it rattled on its hinges as his knuckles struck it.
Twilight? You awake yet?
There was no answer. She must still be asleep, he reasoned, tucking the letters under the door carefully, looking up at the rosy dawn. He squared his shoulders and went to start another day.
Here's the hero of the hour.
Applejack clapped her hoof against his shoulder as he approached the group in Sunnybank Park. He grinned sheepishly down at her.
Sorry if I frightened you, Applejack.
Don't you go apologizing now. You scared the ever-loving apples right off my flank. But I'm mighty glad you did. Poor Fluttershy'd be in a right state if you hadn't decided to shock us all silly.
He smiled awkwardly, feeling both proud and bashful. Applejack chuckled at his expression before shooting him toward the main body of the group. Twilight looked up from the punch, her eyes lighting up.
Spike!
He's here!
Spike, Pinky squealed, her wide blue eyes, and she could hardly miss him, he thought wryly, darting here, there, and everywhere, until her roving gaze finally locked on him.
Oh, he's here!
Streamers and balloons were strung up on the trees, and tables covered with brightly colored cloths and heaps of food had been set up. Blankets were spread upon the ground, and he noted with gratitude that several had been pulled together to form a square large enough for him to lie on. 2 apple barrels were set nearby. Bouncy music filled the air, and a banner was stretched over the little gathering that read, "Congratulations, Spike." Applebloom and Scootaloo were racing around the park kicking a ball, whilst Big Macintosh and Soren seemed to be having an in-depth discussion about pie making. Twilight, Fluttershy, and Rainbow Dash were clustered at one of the tables, and Rarity was reclining demurely under a large sun umbrella with Sweetie Belle and the rather bored-looking Spitfire. Zecora was amusing a small group of younger fillies and colts with her amorphous shape-changing powders, and Mayor Mare was sitting amongst them, watching avidly and clapping her hooves more enthusiastically than any. Cheerilee looked on indulgently, occasionally speaking to Mr. and Mrs. Cake. All eyes turned to him at Twilight's call, and he ducked his head under a branch carefully as he approached.
Hey, every pony.
Spike!
Spike!
Mike!
Spike. Oh. Every pony immediately left off with what they were doing and rushed to him. He laughed happily as Applebloom tackled one of his forelegs, and Scootaloo fluttered up to his face and body slammed his nose. Twilight beamed proudly as they all clustered about him, patting his sides, cheering and congratulating him.
And that dive spike, I mean, whoa, you've got to teach me that one.
Well, I don't think I did anything all that different.
For your house, Spike, because it's a foundation finishing party, but we're making it a Spike can fly party as well.
I hear you have made quite the splash, up in the air with Rainbow Dash. It finished with a splash, yeah. Landings are not my strong.
Darling, I was so thrilled when I heard, oh, you must have been over the moon, flying in such dramatic circumstances.
I'd be happy to take...
Oh, wait.
Am I reading this? I have no idea. No one changed the doc. I typed in the chat, and no one responded.
Just read it.
Cole, just do it!
Okay. It was all my teaching, you know. I'm only the most awesome teacher ever.
Spike smirked at her.
You're the most stubborn.
At that moment, a pink and yellow blur threw itself against him, and he jerked backwards a little.
Oh, Spike. Oh, Spike. Oh, Spike. Oh, Spike. Oh, Spike.
And she flattened herself against his chest.
Are you feeling all right?
He'd only seen her for a few moments after they'd hit the lake before she was whisked away by tender hooves.
Hey, Spike, would you mind toasting the marshmallows?
Sure, no problem. Orange was Applebloom.
Finished in
Red.
no time flat. I bet you're gonna be glad when you don't have to sleep in the square no more.
Well, yeah, but it's really not that bad.
Dude, I hear you can cook. You got any pie recipes?
A few, but not any apple ones.
Oh, Spike, remind me later. I have some news to give you.
Okay, Mare.
You're hungry later. I got you some apples over there.
Thanks, Macint.
I'm really sorry about my attitude yesterday. You saved your life.
Oh, all in the past.
So when Pinkie Pie invited me, I took the liberty of inviting some of the children. They were so excited about meeting you. You should see the artwork from that day.
I'd love to.
Psst. Want some help?
Spike turned to see Twilight smiling slyly at him. He nodded desperately. Twilight put her hoof to her mouth and whistled sharply.
Every pony, one at a time!
Thanks, Twi.
You were starting to look sort of panicked there.
She smiled, reaching over Fluttershy's head to rub his face fondly.
You could have done that yourself.
Can't whistle. Things, you know.
A click and flash from the bushes made the congregation turn their heads sharply, and Spike stifled a groan.
They still bothering you, Spike?
Yeah.
He rubbed the back of his neck with one forepaw and looked around at every pony reluctantly.
Can't really stop them. I've gotten used to them following me everywhere. You'd think they'd get bored. I mean, I spent the whole day practicing. Not exactly thrilling photo material.
Perhaps we can get you a disguise.
Spike gave her a long look that spoke volumes.
We'll just ignore them, dear.
Sorry.
Now, it ain't your fault, Spike. You can't be held responsible if some ponies have their heads stuck firmly up their...
Applejack!
Never mind all that. It's time to party.
Pinky threw her hooves up in the air. Streamers flew from them in a colorful waterfall, and every pony laughed and cheered again before moving towards the food, the games, or the blankets once more. Happy chatter filled the air.
Great party, Pinky. Thanks so much.
Well, you're the most specialist, hardworkingest, nicest, and flyingest dragon I know.
Shit, I forgot. Pinkie Pie, he's the only dragon we know.
You've done a heck of a lot in a short time, Sugar Cube.
I've sort of had to.
He sat on the picnic blanket spread out for him, bracing Fluttershy against himself carefully. Something began to patter up his tail, and he jumped, startled. Turning, he saw 3 or 4 of the small foals frozen in the act of clambering up his back.
Oh, are they annoying you? Children, come away from there.
Nope. They're fine. They just surprised me, that's all.
He smiled at them, and they grinned back impishly. One immediately began to slide from his back all the way down to his tail. Fluttershy had not stopped hugging him the whole time. He rubbed her feathered back gently.
Are you feeling better? I tried to ask before, but every pony was sort of talking all at once.
She made a little noise of assent and nodded, before she looked up at him with wide eyes.
Thank you so much, Spike. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, I guess you're not afraid of me now, if you ever were.
Oh, no.
She shook her head and smiled shyly.
I'll never be afraid of you, Spike, even if you're a huge, gigantic, terrible, enormous, teeth-gnashing, sharp, scaly, having, horn-wearing, smoke-snoring, could eat a pony in one bite, totally all grown-up dragon.
He blinked.
Okay.
She hugged him again, her wings spread to plaster against his chest.
You're my friend.
A soft smile crossed his face, and he lowered his head to nuzzle against her mane.
Thanks, Fluttershy.
He looked up to where several ponies were dancing along to Pinkie Pie's jam. There was Pinkie, naturally, and Soren, Applebloom, Rarity, and Sweetie Belle, and watching at the edges was Big Macintosh. He seemed a little comfortable, and Spike remembered that the laconic pony didn't really attend many parties, an idea dined.
Hey, Fluttershy, you want to dance?
Twilight's head turned faster than light, her eyes wild.
Spike, you probably shouldn't.
Not me, Fluttershy. Just because I'm not going to doesn't mean that every pony shouldn't.
Twilight looked apologetic.
I shouldn't have said that. You can dance if you want to.
I don't even want to think about how ridiculous I'd look. No way, Twilight. Especially when there's a camera in every tree.
You have a point.
He batted his eyes mockingly.
Do you think I'd make the front page? I'm giving myself 10 points every time I do.
You're pretty ahead on points then. What's an editorial?
8. And any lifestyle piece is worth 3.
I don't mind dancing.
Spike raised his eyebrows meaningfully at Twilight.
Great! You two go have fun. I'm going to stay here and eat some apples. Also, I'm working on a career as a playground slide.
Twilight shot him a look that demanded an explanation, and he returned with one that said, later. She sighed gustily before taking Fluttershy's hoof and dragging her over to the grass where the other ponies were dancing. Spike craned his neck to see Macintosh's reaction. Initially awkward, lumpen, and out of place, the red farm pony abruptly drew himself up straight, dark eyes zeroing in on Fluttershy immediately. Spike grinned to himself in triumph. Bingo.
What are you looking so happy about?
Sweetie Belle flopped down before him, her mouth full of candy and robotics. Spike schooled his face hurriedly.
Oh, just happy to see every pony. So, how's that production coming along for Miss Pecan Belto?
She wrinkled her nose.
It's Bel Canto.
Oh,
Privately, Spike thought Can Belto suited Sweetie better.
so, how's it all coming along?
Sweetie Belle seemed to quiver with suppressed excitement for a moment, before she launched into a detailed, enthusiastic, and can-be garbled description. Spike listened, nodding, even as he kept one eye on the dancing ponies and the circling Big Macintosh.
Oh, come on!
He hadn't thought Macintosh would be so nervous. Sweetie peered up at him.
Sorry, what was that?
Nothing.
Pin the tail on the pony was being set up against an old oak. Spike glanced casually over Sakura, Rainbow Dash, and Spitfire setting it up, his eyes not really taking it in. Then he had to look again, double-taking to see that the picture wasn't a pony, but a dragon, and it was at least 4 times larger than it usually was. He must have made it especially so that he could play as well. His heart constricted with happiness. This was what he meant. Razorfang could never understand this. As Sweetie Belle went to fetch more candy, he'd ask for anything made by Twist if available. He dragged one barrel of apples closer and began to deftly pick them up one by one. He could toss them quite easily from his claws to his mouth now and munched away contentedly from a nearby bush he heard.
Whoa.
Spike smirked to himself. Let the whole of Equestria know it. He was an expert at eating apples. He checked the dance floor once more and had to bite his tongue, which really hurt, to stop himself from cheering when Macintosh finally screwed up the courage to ask Fluttershy to dance. Twilight caught his eye, shook her head, and smiled. Meddler, she mouthed at him. He shrugged, before grinning merrily, popping another apple into his mouth. Sweetie Belle trotted back with a basket floating before her.
Twist made some cans. I grabbed the bundle, and look! Some pony got you this.
Spike peered into the basket to see a pile of jewels topped with, his mouth began to water, a couple of black pearls.
Oh, wow.
He stared at them with huge eyes. She laughed at his expression.
You should see your face.
He reached into the basket as carefully as he could. His index finger got caught on the straw, but he unhooked it easily and drew out one of the iridescent, lovely-looking rare gems.
They look delicious.
He drooled, staring at the flickering colors, the trapped fire in its dark depths. It was almost hypnotic. Sweetie giggled.
So eat them.
Almost hypnotic, and very definitely delicious. The afternoon filled with laughter, fun, and games. Spike proved that he was still terrible at pin the tail on the pony or a dragon. A purple and green frosted cake was brought out, and Spike blew out the candles very, very cautiously as Mr. and Mrs. Cake looked on with baker's pride. His water barrel had been pranked. Some pony had added green frume dye, and Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie both looked rather too ingenuous to be innocent. He was talking to Spitfire about some sort of harness for the air rides, and he would give when Mare bustled up to him.
Oh, Spike, congratulations, my dear. I've been up to see the foundations, and I must say the work is going well.
Thanks, Mare.
He remembered that she had some news, and he tensed up a little.
Did you need to tell me something?
Oh, of course, yes. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Now, it's not the best news.
Crowd is shocked.
But never fear, we'll refute these silly ponies yet.
The Mare stamped her foot down. Spike regarded her a little wearily.
The parents group again?
Why, how did you know?
Magic.
She gave him an odd look before continuing.
Well, they've started rallies in the surrounding villages, I'm afraid, and petition is being circulated through Equestria as we speak. And they've repeatedly stated that they intend to continue their vigil in front of Town Hall. That really is terribly inconvenient, you know.
I can imagine.
The worst case scenario would be that if these rallies surrounding Ponyville decide to converge on us at the same time, the police ponies of Ponyville would have to be made aware of this possibility and are on maximum alert.
Spike winced.
And how do they feel about it?
The mayor looked surprised.
Why, Spike, they're as much a part of Ponyville as the rest of us, and they're just as adamant as they should.
Spike blinked, astonished.
Wow, really? But I'm making so much work for them.
To hear Detective Inspector Nosy Parker tell it, it's about time Ponyville stopped being the dullest beat in Equestria.
Ponyville?
Hey,
Duh. Oh, shoot. My bad.
get one freebie. Ponyville? Dole?
Spike raised an eyebrow skeptically.
For the police ponies, parasprite infestations and Ursa minors and major magical incidences don't tend to come under their jurisdiction.
Spike thought about that for a moment and then shrugged.
So we just wait and see whether all these rallies join up and head here?
The mayor inclined her head.
That's about all we can do at the moment. That petition worries me more than the rallies, though. It will circulate through the whole of Equestria far further than our little corner of unrest.
I'm going to the Grand Galloping Gala this year. Princess Celestia thinks that if I can influence all those important ponies, they might swing the situation for me.
The princess?
Spike nodded.
Yeah, I know.
The mayor frowned then.
Well, I hope it works. I really do.
Spike gave another gusty sigh.
Me too.
Pinky flopped down before him, puffing from her exertions on the dance floor.
Phew, that was super duper. You really should.
She stopped, her eyes narrowing.
You were happy before. Why aren't you happy?
Spike shifted a little. A foal skidded down his tail, whooping.
Well...
Pinky rounded on the mayor, her eyes flashing.
Why did you have to do that? He was happy and now his smile is all topsy-turvy.
She blew at her curl in exasperation.
Again.
Pinky, it was important news.
I'm terribly sorry for springing it on you at a party. I should have told you earlier, perhaps. No perhapsies, sort ofs, or maybes about it. You know what'll cheer you up?
A party?
Oh, look! Here's one prepared earlier.
She giggled and tugged a little at his forepaw.
Come on, it's time for marshmallows. You'll get to show off your fire and it'll be all whoo!
She pressed her hooves against her cheeks in comical amazement.
Just like that, huh?
Woo!
Eyes round and earnest, she tugged at his forepaw again. His laugh grew a little louder. It was hard to stay down when Pinky was around.
Okay, point me in the directions of these marshmallows.
He stood slowly to allow the last few folds to skid down his tail.
And prepare to be amazed.
He pointed a claw to the sky.
That's the spirit?
Marshmallows were roasted in no time, followed by apples, which were then smothered in cinnamon. It was actually a lot of fun to toss the apple in the air, blast it, and catch it. And Spike was surprised to find that he was enjoying himself immensely.
You know, I've really missed cooking.
Well, what's stopping you?
Twilight leaned against his side and licking cinnamon off of her hooves.
I can't fit in the kitchen?
Spike, you can cook without a kitchen. Come on, I'll show you.
She made him dig a little pit, and then she lined it with rocks and twigs. Bananas were sliced into 2 lengthways, sprinkled with chocolate and wrapped in foil. Then she made him blast the rocks until they glowed, and the foil-wrapped packages were nestled amongst the ashes.
There.
I would have added some butterscotch sauce in there. Maybe some nutmeg.
Oh yes, almighty head chef. You see either of those at this party? We're working with what we got here.
Okay, touchy.
After 10 minutes had passed, Twilight suggested he fish out the packages. The banana was smooth and soft, and the chocolate had melted.
If you don't want the foil, I'll have it.
It's all yours.
The bananas were a resounding success, even if they weren't the easiest thing to eat with hooves. Every pony ended with a smudge or 2 of chocolate around their mouths. Rarity almost went into a hookerchief frenzy trying to clean them all up. The sun had well and truly set by the time the party wound to its inevitable close. Spike sighed contentedly, full of apples, cake, gems, candy, marshmallows, banana, and foil.
That was awesome.
Uh-huh.
Manners.
Rarity then covered her own mouth surreptitiously.
I don't think I can move. Dude.
Apple blue.
Chester.
Ron, where's Fluttershy?
Spike grinned against his chest.
She went for a walk with,
We gotta clear all this up.
Twilight rolled her eyes at him.
subtle as a sledgehammer.
Working under pressure here.
Cleaning cleaning schmeaning.
Rainbow Dash waved a hoof dismissively. Pinky flopped over on her back.
Yeah, cleaning, schmeening, bleaning, fiending, cheating, dreening, pleening.
It has to happen, Pinky dear.
There was a collective groan from the rest of the partygoers.
I do believe I ate a lot, and now I'm feeling not so hot.
Well, sooner we start, the sooner we finish.
Applejack hauled herself to her hooves with a groan. Pinky made a disconsolate sound and also got to her hooves.
Okie dokie Loki.
She started to pack the leftover food into one of the baskets. Spike lurched upright and then sat heavily on his haunches. His stomach was uncomfortably full, which was a rare occurrence these days. He slowly began to pull down streamers.
If you hear a great big boom tonight, don't worry. That'll just be me. Exploding. From too much food.
Great party.
All the tables, baskets, and party paraphernalia were eventually stacked inside Big Macintosh's wagon, and the picnic blankets, and baskets were piled on top. Sleepy foals were ushered away by the Cakes and Charlie, who softly called their goodnights.
Where in the hay is that darn brother of mine? He's got to get this thing back to Sugar Cube Corner.
Spike ignored Twilight's knowing look with lofty disdain.
I'll do it.
He walked forward to the wagon, heaving it under his foreleg again. He began a 3-footed stagger back into town.
Land sakes, kiddo. I didn't know you could do that.
Applejack tipped her hat back to watch him.
That's how I get the wagon back to the farm.
He was starting to feel a little sick. Perhaps the foil had been a bad idea. He considered it. Nah. The walk back to Sugar Cube Corners seemed a lot longer than usual to Spike. Of course, the fact that he was full to the eyebrows and hoisting a wagon could have something to do with that. They bade farewell to Zecora once they reached Town Hall. The camped protesters watched them with a glittering, malevolent eyes before they snapping their banners and signs. Under their snapping banners and signs, they didn't attack, but neither did they say a word, which was almost more oppressive. Spike could feel their glares against the scales of his back as they turned down the street to the bakery. Eventually, Sugar Cube Corner rose up before them, and Spike lowered the wagon with a sigh of relief.
That's a lot easier when I haven't eaten so much.
Well, that's that then. Yawn. Night, every pony, and congrats, Spike! Now, we work on landings. And getting you some totally radical moves!
Landings first.
Spike had woken up from his sleep by the sound of hooves approaching. He jerked himself upright.
Who's there?
The conversation with Razorfang and the death threat in his mail flickered through his mind. He backed away a little, his wings unfurling unconsciously.
Who is it? Show yourself.
It is I, Luna.
Spike almost collapsed with relief.
Oh, Princess. I mean, Luna. Oh, thank goodness. You scared me out of my scales.
She was barely a suggestion in the darkness. Tints of light glanced from her silvery shoes, her cutie mark, and her glossy, dark eyes.
You are far more wary than the last time I visited.
Well...
Spike sat down and tried to calm his racing pulse.
A lot of stuff has happened since I saw you, Luna.
The light of the waxing moon caught her smile.
I have been reading over my sister's shoulder.
Spike ducked his head.
I know.
You have claimed Ponyville and its ponies as your territory.
She moved to sit gracefully beside him.
You worry about the challenge and wish to know whether my sister or myself could affect the outcome with our magic. You have sought information regarding your egg. You have become an object of fascination and scandal for the press. The ponies arrayed against you have become more numerous.
That's not even all of it.
She cocked her head, her crown glinting.
There is more?
He sighed, his head dropping forward.
Yeah, but before we talk about it, could we pretend there's nothing wrong for a couple minutes? Now we're just two friends saying hello.
Her laugh chimed like silver bells.
Of course we can. Hello, Spike.
Hello, Luna. I'm sorry, I keep doing that.
You will become used to it.
He was glad for the darkness that hid his blush. It was just so presumptuous. He cleared his throat.
How have you been?
She folded her hooves before her.
I have been well, and you? Is the couple of minutes not complete?
Not yet. How's Kennerlot?
Quite busy.
She obviously humored his need to talk about something else.
A delegation from Erie arrived earlier this week, and they are proving troublesome. The Griffins wish to secure a presence in Equestria. Their high mountain peaks are not as fertile as ours, and their population is expanding.
Spike remembered Rarity's words upon meeting Gilda.
I thought griffins were rare.
They are, compared to my little ponies.
I bet those are some complicated negotiations.
You would be correct.
That reminds me, actually. Where's Wormstadt?
She looked at him, eyes narrowed.
You've had dealings with the ambassador?
He shook his head.
No, but it was in your sister's last letter. The one every pony from here to Appaloosa has read.
Wormstadt is beyond the borders of Equestria, high in the Firestorm Ranges.
And that's a dragon city? Where the government is?
She tilted her head.
Very few dragons would lower themselves to soldiers' shoulder such a menial and selfless responsibility, and even fewer would consider leaving their traditional territory to do so. There is no formally recognized dragon government, and Wormstead is not a council, nor is it a city.
He frowned.
It's not? What is it then?
The Wormstadt is the oldest and greatest of the ancient dragon caves. It is inhabited by the eldest dragon living, the dragon of the Wormstadt. She is the source of the greatest clan in the world, and she is the one who looks after dragon interests, as it were.
He blinked.
They say she has grown strange in her old age, and that is why she assumed the duty. Yet her majesty and might is unchallenged. None would dare gainsay her. She has taken it upon herself to speak for all dragons, but always through her ambassador. She rarely ventures from her glittering caves. When she does, she blots out the whole sky.
Whoa.
Spike flopped down back to his elbows.
That's... Whoa.
It was she who brokered the treaty with my sister.
Luna raised her eyes to her starry night.
I saw it all from afar. Dragons ceased to be hunted as rogues and monsters, and ponies were allowed to live safe and untouched within a dragon's territory. It is still quite a recent treaty, only a century old, and not all dragons have adapted as easily as ponies. Their generations turn far, far more slowly.
Spike was silent, thinking. The clans. Princess Celestia had mentioned the clans. Magicians, too. She had said they would be interested in him. A dragon raised by ponies, undertaking an old and traditional challenge. She had said the Wormstadt's ambassador would want to convince him to leave Ponyville, leave Equestria, and go where? To the Wormstadt? To this ancient dragoness? He gritted his fangs. Fat chance of that. He was never leaving Ponyville.
It is relevant to those things you do not wish to talk about for a couple of minutes.
I guess a couple of minutes is up.
Then would you please tell me what has happened?
She leaned forward, and the cool, strange feeling of her mane brushing against his forepaws made him tremble.
I found where my egg came from. It's not a nice story.
She lowered her eyes.
I also discovered why Razorfang despises ponies so much. It's not a nice story either.
She raised her silver-clad hoof and placed it comfortingly upon his. The metal was cold, and she shivered again.
I've had it running through my head ever since. That awful letter made things 10 times worse. I was finally beginning to forget about it at the party, and then the mayor told me.
What is it she told you?
The surrounding villages are also holding rallies. Plus there's a petition against me. It's circulating throughout all Equestria.
She was still, her eyes closed and her face stony.
Oh, but there's some good news. I finally got the hang of flying.
Her eyes opened, and she smiled at him.
Well done.
He smiled crookedly back.
Thanks. Oh, and the foundations for my house are finished.
So the situation is not as black as you paint it.
I think I'm beginning to realize that nothing's ever completely one way or the other.
She inclined her elegant head.
This is true. Very wise, Spike.
He blushed a bit more.
Thanks, Luna. That's sort of what Twilight said, too.
Twilight Sparkle thinks you're wise.
Mostly, I think she thinks I'm growing up too fast.
Every pony thinks their child grows up too fast.
He stared at her for a long moment.
Luna,
Yes, Spike?
I keep wondering what my parents would have thought of me. And I don't want to care about it because Twilight is my family now. Still, I can't help but wonder. They like me? They be disappointed or angry that I'm not much like other dragons?
She looked at him compassionately.
I am so sorry, Spike. But we will never know.
I'll never know.
He bowed his head once more. She leaned against him, offering the comfort of her presence. Above them, the cluster of stars she had called the dragon twinkled against her glorious night. That is the end of chapter 9 of It Takes a Village.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yay.
Oh.
I forgot to bring water. So that was getting real rough toward the end.
So I have a question. Were you running your fingers along the strings of your guitar before the nut?
Actually, since my guitar's built, it was below the bridge, but yes.
Oh, okay.
But yes, same concept.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that's how mine sounds above the nut. So
Yeah, it makes a good like page turn transition noise. You know, like if you're listening to an audiobook or not an audiobook. What was it? There was this thing back in the 90s where they would give you a tape and you'd have a book and it'd like narrate the book with music and stuff. And then
yeah.
in order to turn the page so you could see the pictures, they'd like have that noise of turn the page. It'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
Now, Cole, I want you to say the most fun line that you had to read.
Oh gosh. Well, I accidentally misread the Canes one, and
Yes.
I say cans.
And Sweetie Bot's voice.
Yes.
I thought it was acceptable because it was a robot.
yeah, I like the Sweetie
Was
Bot.
made
Didn't care
cans.
for the nerdy Rainbow Dash as much, but yeah. So Cyril, your first time on an official reading.
It was all right. It was good. I had a good time. Next time I'll make sure I have water. Oh, wait, what? What else do you want me to say? Do you want to say it blew my mind that my life would change, that I'm going to be rolling down hills thinking about this night every single day of my life?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I think in some weird way I made a typo in my own head because it's supposed to be single, but it said dingle instead.
At least it wasn't a dongle.
It's true.
At least it wasn't a Pringle.
Yeah. Funyuns are better.
And I say something and immediately the chat dies.
Well,
Such is life.
but my favorite line was, bananas were sliced into two lengthwise, sprinkled with chocolate, and wrapped in foil.
Oh, Lord.
The runner-up, of course, is being the banana was smooth and softened, and the chocolate had melted.
Yeah. You do watch a lot of Food Network, I can tell.
Well,
I'll
Sorry.
saute your
More
sausages.
Oh man.
God damn it.
Oh my.
Are we going to have another war here?
Oh my.
Only if you declare it.
Oh God. But are we gonna have to do a Winchester Wednesday special where the Winchester Wednesdays crew goes up again?
God, I hope not. Maybe the silly show will be back in session by then.
Oh God. And Fritzy will still be on our side since we scared him away. I think that's sort of the joke or whatever, is that we just scared Fritzy away and he's never gonna come back.
Because you read alludes once.
Yes, once we read
yeah.
alludes, and
Wait,
that was
who
the
did we
one
scare?
time he was on.
Well, see, the thing is, if I start my thing back up, he'll just join your side because you're the lesser of two evils. Because the kind of fanfics my show used to read, oh boy,
Is it fun stuff? I like reading fun stuff.
I like reading fun stuff too.
Is this an invitation if you go and start up your thing again that you'll invite me onto your show?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Awesome.
Wait, invite you?
I don't.
Wait,
Nope.
You should
Wait,
definitely
where
not
was-
invite me. I can't read for shit.
I
As proven
apologize.
this evening.
Yes, but you have great voices. Just hilarious lines.
I apologize, but what network were you going to previously?
Well,
Or were you just under your own banner?
Well, I was on a network called 8BitX actually, so it's not like
okay.
I wasn't in any of the pony networks. Though Everfree did offer me something at one point because I was kicked off the network I was on at the previously for being too furry.
What?
Oh yeah, that was
Cyril, is there something
super
you want to
funny.
tell us?
No. Well, no, that's the funny part because it was just like he couldn't take the fact that people were, being nasty in the chat room, and like that we were reading such nasty stuff. And I was like, well, you said your network was anything goes, so I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
Because I thought
yeah.
that. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you on Philadelphia radio for a while?
No, I just joined the Philly cast every once in a while.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because
I think I listened to that
thought that
one
you're.
time and I thought, oh, I need to listen to that more, and then I kept forgetting.
And then it died.
It did?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. I can't keep up with anything.
Well, there was like 14 kajillion radio stations in like 2015.
Oh
Like,
my
That's
god.
true.
And,
Or 2014, 2015.
and I'm
This is
pissed off.
crazy.
How
I'm
many
pissed
are
off
on
'cause
Pony
one of them
Live
died-
nowadays?
I'm pissed off because one of them died that I really liked, and it was like the last one that really played stuff like that. And that was Wonderbolt Radio.
Oh yeah.
Because they died recently, and so now I've went to Celestia Radio because I go to Ponyville FM and they're like electronic, maybe halfway actual instruments, electronic, and then
I need to
Celestia
listen
Radio
to
has
more
a
of these
decent
stations.
mix.
I haven't graduated past Bronington's radio.
But I mean, I started off with Wonderbolt Radio.
I guess
and
there is, I guess under Ponyville Live has like an aggregate for a bunch of radio stations, and there's a few.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me pull up Hoof Sounds here, see what it's got.
I've already done it. There's Alicorn Radio, AR Brony Radio, Best Pony Radio, Brony Radio LA, Brony Radio Germany, Bronydom,
Why are there two radio stations on the Hoof Sounds that are offline?
Brony Tune, Celestia. That is because, I don't know why
No.
Luna Radio is, but a lot of times when they're offline, that means they just died.
Wow.
Harmony?
Sad that Lunar Radio died. Acoustic, classical, and easy listening. R.I.P.
I hope they didn't die because I know that was the one that Cole used to like to listen to.
No, that was the one that Commander used to listen to, and I would listen to it on occasion. I usually went with Celestia or Ponyville FM.
Oh.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I really like electronic stuff.
I normally listen to Celestia. They don't have fractured frequencies on the app, on the Ponyville Live app, so I don't listen to that. I was wanting to try it because I talked to them at a convention once. But yeah, and then they have a whole bunch of different countries like Czech and Russia and France and
Yes.
Winchester,
So-
quick. What, if you had to name a radio station, a pony radio station, what would you call it?
depends. What's the subject?
It's ponies. Give it
What?
a name.
Just
radio
a
station.
general ponies radio station?
Yeah, or whatever you want it to be.
New Lunar Republic Radio. I've actually already thought of this, and it would basically be Wonderbolt Radio all over again. Pew!
So going back to the fic, Marzi, how did it feel talking to yourself?
Yeah, that was like a problem I was having. Is I was pissed off at myself.
You were pissed off at yourself.
Yeah.
Wait, you never been mad at yourself before?
I like to give myself a good shout all the time.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when Spike had like the whole page where he was like doing the whole script with himself, and I can't remember who the other character was.
Zakora.
Yeah, it was just Spike and Zakora.
Oh
Yeah,
my.
but I had to get mad at myself at that point.
I know, you were just giving yourself advice.
I know. It's what I do that all the time.
I'm just glad that you took the Mayor lines because, oh my god, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
I didn't know there were so many lines. Normally
I didn't
she
know that
has, like,
either.
3 or 4.
I didn't list them as 1 or 2 lines there. That's for a reason. The ones that had more than had several lines are the ones that didn't get specific. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
but
recall
Sweetie.
one time we had a lot of one-liners, and someone made the comment we should really comment on the one-liners next.
But like Sweetie had only like a few lines. So.
But
Sweetie Bot.
I had
Yeah.
mentioned to somebody that I was doing live readings, and she said that I have to make sure that I put this on my resume because sometimes people will read your hobbies, and like, especially when you're doing voices, that's something that people are looking for.
Huh.
And apparently she has like some part of her work where that's what they're doing. They're looking for people to do live readings of like news or something.
Oh, that reminds me. The guy who used to
Okay.
do the voiceovers for the company videos was fired recently. That's a position open.
Are
Sweetie
you gonna
Bot
try and
dominates.
Oh god. Sweetie Bot and RDP Art Rainbow Dash.
I really sucked at that.
It was amusing though.
It was fine.
And also,
I
I couldn't
think the
hold it 'cause,
first-
like,
The first line was on point. The other lines you kind of dropped it off a bit.
yeah,
What about Stoner Soren?
dude.
I like pie.
Oh,
'Cause
by
I
the way,
like that, actually.
we're talking about music and stuff. Thought that people might like to know that I Bring the Wolves is now back to streaming and doing things and is live.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's streaming to his YouTube. I caught him one day and everything, and it happened to be the day he was trying to create his Discord server, and I helped him out and was just like, here, and I just made one and threw it at him, and I've sort of been running it ever since. So, yay.
You're so class.
Oh,
Sure.
But by the way, when I read the Cheerly lines, I kind of didn't read them ahead of time. So if they seemed really, really bad, that's probably why.
Oh, I thought you were putting on like a thing. Like,
A
Yes, totally. It was totally entirely that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
because it sounded like Charlie had suddenly become a very old, decrepit woman who was just sick of everything.
Well, the
Yeah,
sick
sick
of
of
everything part
children.
was intentional.
Oh, okay.
Deals with children all day. I'd imagine that she'd be pretty pissed off at this point.
It was
Yep.
only a matter of time before Shirley's garden takes place.
Oh wow, that's a deep cut.
That seems like
I know.
something I should read, so I need to.
Oh,
The ending sucks ass.
Oh, it's that kind of fic. Got it.
Yes.
And-
that's what the kind of material we're talking about.
And next, on to... Oh,
That was
Lordy.
intentional.
So, on to a different topic. Has anybody ever been to Denver International Airport?
If I say yes, do I get anything?
But I don't. Not to stop.
If you say yes, then you get a rant about how much I hate Denver International Airport with a burning passion.
Then no, I've never been there. I've only been to Chicago. That's the only one. And that other one that I started from, and that random other one that's like somewhere far away.
Yeah. But yeah, Denver International Airport sucks so much. I walked into the terminal and it took me, I think, about 10 to 15 minutes to find out where I was supposed to check my bags in at. After I found that checked in, I made 3 loops around the terminal area, which was basically the same size as a good-sized mall's food court. And I made 3 laps around this to try and find where the hell security was. And finally I gave up for a little while because I had some time and sat down at a Panda Express and got some food. And then I literally looked to my right and there's a big sign that says security pointing down to 2 escalators that I walked by 3 times. And all of the security for this airport goes through one set of 3 or 4 security lanes. Oh my god, that
Winchester,
sucked.
I just want to say what you described just sounded like just if you were to throw me into any place randomly. That just sounds like what would happen to me regardless of how well the place is designed.
Yeah,
It's like it could be the most perfectly designed building, that makes sense to everyone, is completely intuitive. I'd still wander around for probably a good solid hour not knowing what the hell I'm doing.
So anyways, and then I go and I'm looking for my gate, and A, B, and C gates, okay, so that are in different terminals or sections of the terminal. Well, you, like Steel Cord said, you get on a train and it takes you to one of the 3 different terminals, or you can ride on it to get to the terminal. So the first terminal, A, I saw was basically all these small airlines like Allegiant, Great Lakes, all that type of stuff. Terminal B was United. And that was it. And then Terminal C was Southwest and Delta and a few other ones. Well, come to find out that this is United's home airport, and they have an entire 100 gate terminal all to themselves.
Okay.
I wanted to know how many or why that many of people still fly United. Holy hell.
Because they don't know the great song United Breaks Guitar.
And they don't.
In some cases, it's the only game in town.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, by the way, we no longer have an airline going to North Platte.
Oh, zero airlines. Just an airfield for fun.
Airfield for fun / you can rent a private flight.
Right, man. That's why I want to learn to fly, because a cousin of mine is a pilot, and he rented a plane and flew to my wedding, but he was able to just fly to an airfield that was just the town over.
See, that's because Forrest Drain got me sort of started on that at BronyCon last year, and I've been sort of trying to get through, but I have some issues with my because I'm color deficient.
Oh.
And that can cause some issues. But the good news is I'll go out at night and whatnot out to our airport, which has a fully lit, fully set up runway, so it has basically all the lighting on it. And I can distinguish every single color of light correctly. So hopefully I'll be able... There's something you can get, have your eye doctor do a test or a few tests, and if you pass even just one of them, they can give you a exemption notice to give to your medical examiner.
Right.
So I'm kind of waiting to do that. But then the next issue is the finding a CFI to do my training, which I think my cousin is one, but he's in a town about 100 or so miles away.
Oh, it's just a couple hours stretch of the legs.
Well, it's about an hour and a half drive. I'm
just kidding.
Yeah, here in town, and you can ask Forrest, and she will tell you also, the guys at the FBO here in town are complete idiots.
FBO,
flight-based operator,
Federal Bureau of
no. The FBO is a
Odorant,
flight-based
as in
operator. It's like
deodorant.
where you go to get your fuel and rent planes and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ah, I see.
So, but because she called down there, because for Christmas last year, she gave me a free demonstration flight, which is supposed to be kind of like your first lesson, but the flight instructor that I had more or less just gave me a tour around town and let me hold the controls for about 2 minutes. But, so yeah, so that's, but she ended up calling down to the FBO, and like when she talked to me, she was just like, "Oh my God, everybody down there is complete idiot." And I don't know how many times I've went down there and just like, I ask for something and they give me a blank stare for about 2 or 3 minutes.
No, that's always good.
I'm just like, alrighty then. But yeah, so I've been trying to go and get stuff taken care of, but my biggest thing at the moment is getting my what was my grandfather's truck ready for Cider Fests. So
Oh,
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
because that's what I'm taking up there, because that's what I trust to take up. But I got to replace a window motor in it, and I'm looking at buying $1,000 bumper replacement for the front. So
is
if I
Orange
club
Shirt
or
guy
deal,
still on board with joining you in there?
possibly, we don't know for sure yet. So
Okay, because I need to know for certain as to whether or not you'll be able to fit all three of us, or I'll have to find something else. Because I'll have, if I can't be part of that, I need to have as much time as I can to find an alternate.
I'd say probably start looking for something, because if you would get crammed in with us, you'd have to ride in the back of the truck. Or not in the back of the truck, but in the back seat of an extended cab pickup. And with how tall you are, you probably would not enjoy that.
Maybe not.
So you just have to put your legs across the seat and scrunch down and just have everything in the bed of the truck.
Well, and
yeah, the thing
seeing...
is, I have to do that for like 10 hours.
Yeah, and seeing as I've been talking
Exactly.
about... I've been talking to Larsus about bringing some equipment and stuff up, and that stuff I want kept inside the cab. That would take up a good chunk of the seat. So...
So there'd be
But
no
the other
space
thing
for a
was-
dragon.
So Cyril, can you say, will you be going to Ciderfest?
Not looking likely, to be honest.
Aw.
Just been, procuring a house was a lot more of an intense prospect than I expected. Also time off stuff, but it's one of those things where I love to go, but no one from there has talked to me about it, which is fine. And it's getting a flight out there and the time off to do it right is hard. Yeah, I know I'm a lame-o sometimes, but I went to so many cons from 2012 to 2015 that this year I guess I just kind of was like, I'm gonna go to 2.
You went to so many cons from 2012 to 2015, and let's see, my first convention was...
Yeah, I have a list
convention
too, I
was
can
last
tell you.
year.
Well, no, my first convention was Midwest Brony Fest 2016.
that was my first too.
So, I mean, it's sort of like, great, now, like, you're cutting down, so I don't get to see you hardly ever.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get there now.
That's why you get a car that will get you places.
Yeah, my car is a piece of crap. Winchester can.
Yes. You
Quick
need,
question:
You need to
Where is this convention?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. It's a 10-hour
you-
drive from Nebraska.
That'd be a tricky one to get to by train.
It's a 10-hour drive for
Yeah,
double
because
R,
you'd have
and
to
it's
do
a
a
12-hour
changeover.
drive for me.
Chicago, probably.
Yeah,
And
not to
heck-
mention the California
heck-
Zephyr, you'd be on it for quite a while already, and
Well, heck,
going
and
to Milwaukee might
given
be a day trip.
given when my brother does trips through from Milwaukee area down and then over to Michigan, I think he gets put onto a bus at Chicago.
So,
I'm
yeah.
wondering if there's like a shuttle service I can find that'll take me in between there, because I really don't want to buy a plane ticket.
I have no idea. But, yeah, there's... let's put it this way. I'd much rather take a plane just for the sheer fact of you're not sitting in a bus for 10 hours. But
Yeah, but it's probably cheaper. I have to go cheap, man.
I wouldn't
I'm still a
know.
college
Plane
Winchester.
tickets are pretty cheap. Especially if you bought them now, they'd probably... I mean, you'd probably be looking at maybe 300, maybe less.
Still a lot of drop at this point.
And I guess...
Where's the closest train station to you? I'll look this up.
to me...
Yeah, or you guys in general. Nebraska.
There's one... There's
in
one in...
Lincoln.
There's an
Lincoln.
Amtrak station in Lincoln, and then there's the closest one to me is in McCook, which is south a ways, but it's an easy drive.
The other direction. Hi, Echo.
Commander something, please, like, consider popping by Ciderfest just to say hi to me at least, please.
Also, I'm waiting for Larsis to get word from Charlie about this discount I should be getting on my ticket, because I won it from a Jeopardy last year.
Yeah, so... Hug. But yes, so anyways, I think that's going to wrap up stream for tonight.
Okay.
So, anyways, without further ado, we'll start shoutouts. So, anyways, we'll start with Marzi.
Shout outs to Winchester Wednesday.
All right. And next on the Coal Dust.
Right. Fuck. Shit. God damn it. Wang. Yeah.
That's a good shout out.
Totally. Oh, shouts out to Winchester Wednesdays, which happens at some time on Wednesdays, I think.
I think also. I'm not quite sure yet.
How original.
All right. And
also,
next on...
Also... Hang on. Okay, I'm done.
All righty. And next on to Double R.
Shoutouts to planes, trains, and con transportation. The struggle is real.
Oh, by the way, to go from Lincoln to Chicago is about $67 if it's like in October. I don't know when it is, but yeah, I tried October, which is next month, so you know.
Still need to get to Milwaukee from there.
Yeah, I know. Hang on, let me check that leg of the journey.
But actually, if you get to Chicago, I mean, Skyrays is going, and he might be able to take you. Or we have plenty of connections in Chicago, honestly.
True, and I'm already agreed to share a room with Skyrays.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I need to talk with people about my room.
Yeah, like, aren't you like gonna share with the music since you're a roadie?
Me and Woody are trying to figure something out. So, yeah. Speaking of Woody, and speaking of people that Woody has or whatnot played drums for, next we have Cyril.
Hi.
Shout out.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I thought I was
You're
my
sorry?
own shout out.
Are you Canadian too?
Yes.
How twee.
Anyway, I just she doesn't need a shout out to Forest Rain just because whatever for being in my band and being cool. But yeah, God, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of React videos lately. I don't really have any good shout outs for any like small channels I might have found, except maybe I don't know. I've been following a lot of video game cover dudes on YouTube.
Could you say what one more time? Because I just really liked it.
What?
No, but.
Oh,
with
but?
W. Yeah.
But.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yes.
If you've got any good kazoo covers of the video games, send them to Cole.
Yeah.
actually,
If you find any good kazoo covers of
No.
anything, give them to me.
I
They're
found
like
I do
my
have a
bag.
legit shout out. There's two that are similar. One is DJ Cumberbund, who just did a Tool Taylor Swift mashup that was pretty sweet. And then also a guy named Pluffnub, who does things like Toto, Africa, vocals one step out of key and offbeat.
Oh God.
Oh,
And,
ow, ow.
and I love it. I love it. It
How
makes
do you
me
not
die.
die?
Send me a link. I need to feel this pain.
Cyril, if I add you into my
Insane.
server, will you just put all these into the beats chat?
I can. Yes. Oh wait! Everybody wants to rule the world. Oh, what was it? All instruments out of tune. Stuff like that is amazing. It's so bad.
Hey, CMC, do you have a shout out?
I need all of these bad memes.
Shout out to bad memes.
Also, say what else goes on throughout the week, but try not to go as in depth as you did last week because I was starting to fall asleep.
What?
Shout out the other things going on throughout the week also, but don't do it as in depth as last week because I started to legitimately fall asleep during them.
Okay. So, shouts out to fires, explosions, and LOE on the 10th. You will lose me. This weekend.
Yay, dove hunting this weekend, so I won't be on my...
And so Thursdays, Silent does things, maybe. I'm not sure. Yes.
Okay.
Friday night, we may or may not be streaming the RPG session. We're still trying to figure out what we're doing with that. Saturdays, we've got Saturday morning cartoons, including the new Pony episode in the morning, and then Creatures Gaming Meltdown at about 9:30 Eastern in the evening.
Yes, of course, you watched the episode early.
I think it's 9. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, moving on. So Sundays, we've got Circuits Let's Play starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what he's still going through Doom. I don't know what the multiplayer is going to be this week. Then Monday at 8 p.m. we have an equestrian flags up with this crazy guy.
Hi.
Yes. Which is a crazy and silly thing that you should come watch, and it's the pre-show to the Brony Show, which starts at 9 p.m. Eastern.
We've got trivia.
Yes.
Except this week, because this week's another off week, because we're in between seasons.
Yep. And then after the main show, Circuit does Circuit's Coffee House After Party. Weird name. I'm still not fully getting it ingrained in my head. Anyway, that's usually just random memes and random videos that we all toss at the sync tube, and yeah. And then Tuesdays, there's nothing. And Wednesdays, you come back, you see these crazy folks, 9:30, maybe 10, 11.
It's supposed to be at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, unless I go and fall asleep, and then wake up.
And
not
then you
knowing
find
where
that
I
it
am.
started at Thursday midnight.
But it was honestly very interesting because the orange shirt guy called me, and I was waking up, and I don't know whether I was having a weird dream or whatever, but I could have sworn that I was waking up, and I'm just like, wait, this was not the room that I fell asleep in, because I thought that I was still in Arizona for some reason, and I was just like, I should not be here. What the hell am I doing here? And then, I was talking to Orange, just like, hey, what you doing? And I'm just like, waking up and then, I had to take bearings, just, in my room, I think. So
Coming from the guy who told me once that he treats this podcast like a job.
I do, but when do you know the shit that I've been under for the last since March? Yeah.
You don't tell
Well,
me
you
that
are in
much.
Nebraska, so I'm going to guess some sort of manure because there's a lot of farming out there.
Duh. But anyways,
Buddy, I'm a
anyways, without further ado, my shout outs go to everybody who showed up. Shout outs to Cyril for showing up for the first time, and hopefully this is the beginning to many, many more.
Don't count on it.
Let's see if you
I
last
better.
longer than Force Rain.
I'm going to.
I love you, Winchester.
I love you too. Yes. Well, I mean,
Please
I already drank out of his horn mug and drank all of his drinks, so
You drank out of his porn mug?
yes.
You drink out of my horn.
Oh,
Wait, I don't think that's better, actually.
Oh. I will never
Here now,
never
Winchester
forget.
gets more
I will
horn than
never
I do.
forget that. That was the best time ever. Just that look of disappointment. But
Oh,
Yeah, dude, because you did a total party foul and just like I gave you like half a beer, well, half the mug, which is basically a whole beer, and you just downed it, and I had like a swallow left, and I was like, dude.
no, actually, you look more like a defeated puppy.
Well, yeah, because I can't stay mad at you. Also, I think I was tired.
Also, it was great later on. I think it was the next day or whatever when you were on stage for that one panel, and you're just like, "You want to go?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, let's take this outside." And you're just like, "No."
It's because I think I didn't feel like getting up. Anyway, yeah.
But we totally should just go at it sometime.
porn?
I ship it.
Oh, alrighty. And this has gotten way too far off the rails. But yeah, shouts out to everybody. Shouts out to Marzi and Forest Thunder for giving me a fun weekend. So yes.
Yay.
So, without further ado, I'll let Alex and Odyssey take us out. So everybody say goodbye.
Bye.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Thanks to everyone for showing up. It's been fun. This is Winchester 572 going 10-7. I'm out. Bye-bye.